Hey there, Thrive Tribe. Happy Friday. So this week has been crazy with travel and work with online clients, and I wanted to create a quick video to talk a little bit more about habits, because I think a lot of times when we're thinking about elevating our lives and we're thinking about this idea of how do I live my best life possible, how do I reach the goals that I have, the beauty of reaching your goals lies in your habits. When I first started out on my journey of just really taking that next level in my life, what I realized was that my habits were so important, and I tended to not want to do it because habits were very boring for me. But through my own experience of habits and habit forming and my research around it, I wanted to share with you a couple of things that might help you. If you are looking to get some results, whether it's with weight loss or whether it is with changing your diet, but even taking it outside of your wellness goals, if you want to look at finances, relationships, your career, a lot of that elevation will happen when you take a look at your habits and create that. So I'm going to go through a little bit and talk about habits, and also let you know that there is a worksheet that I'm going to add to the file section. I'll also post a link below where you can grab it, that you can just really work through. And I use this worksheet a lot when I work with clients, so I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to share it with you all, because the whole idea here is how do I change and elevate my life and to really reach new heights. So when it comes to habits, why are habits so important? Well, honestly, how you do everything is really an indicator of your ability, your level for success. And what I mean by that is consistency. If you want to reach goals, you have to be consistent. It's just the way it is. You can't just do a thing once. You can't work out once and think that you're going to drastically change your body. You can't save $20 one time and think that that's going to be the end of your financial woes. You can't apologize once to your significant other and think that that's going to drastically change the course of your relationship. It's doing the things over and over again and building habits around that. And I find that your habits are really tied to the person of who you are and who you're becoming. So let's look at it this way. Let's say you have a goal in mind that you want to achieve, whether it's around fitness, food, nutrition, finances, whatever it is, you have these goals. The first thing is, one, take some time and think about, who do I need to become in order to achieve that goal? So that's one way to look at it. Or take a second and think about, once that goal is achieved, who am I now? Who am I? What do I do? How do I hold myself? How do I carry myself? What are my ideals, my values, all these things? In either area, you get a clear idea of what things that you'll be doing as that person. So that's the first thing to think about when it comes to, that next step. Once you get a clear idea of who you want to become or what that looks like for you, I want you to drill down into the actions, the activities. What are the things that you are doing? So for me, for example, when I was going through a lot of transformations in my life, one of the things that I would really want to focus on was I wanted to, once I reached my goals, that I wanted to be more consistent with gratitude. I really wanted to be more consistent with that, because I was coming off of a really, really rough chunk in my life, and I realized how negative I was being. And I knew that for me to elevate myself, I had to really shift my mindset and my verbiage, my language, my interactions, because I was so negative all the time. So I said, okay, I want to be more gratitude focused. And so through that process, I started to think about, okay, well, what are some habits that I can do that can help me with that? And so the first thing I thought about was, okay, I think the habit I want is to focus on gratitude. Cool, that's the habit. The second thing is, when you identify a habit that you want to include, then you want to think about, why is this important? Why is this habit an important part of something I want to create into my life? So I went through and said, okay, having a habit of gratitude, why that's important for me is because I'm tired of feeling so negative. My anxiety is through the roof, my depression is through the roof, and honestly, I just am sick and tired of being sick and tired of having this negative mindset. People didn't want to be around me because I was so negative. And so I really got to this point of, I want to be a person that people enjoy being around. I want to look in the mirror and love the person back at me. I want to do all these things and feel the elevation there. So one, identified the habit. Two, identified the meaning. Why is it important for me? Then I had to think about, how can I build this habit into my daily life? This is one of the things that I think a lot of people skip. We say we want to incorporate, working out 3 times a week, or, eating healthier, or making green smoothies every morning, or going to bed by 10 o'clock. But the third part of it is, how do I make this easier to implement into my daily life? So I thought about all the ways I can incorporate gratitude in my life. I was thinking, okay, well, I can do a gratitude journal, and I can journal every single night before I go to bed. I can write down 3 things I'm grateful for. I thought about setting a timer that would go off at 1:11 every single day with the prompt, what are you grateful for? And I would, take a moment to reflect on that. I thought about, all these different things. I had a list of about 10 things that I could start to incorporate with gratitude. And before I started okay, I'm gonna do all of these, I took a step back and I thought, okay, which one of these 10 things is gonna be the easiest way to implement into my life? The gratitude journal, I realized, because sometimes I'm so exhausted when I go to bed at night, that there was no way I was going to get that every single night. And the thing about habits, they have to be consistent. So that was off the table. I started thinking of all the different things, and what I boiled it down to was, when I wake up in the morning, and when my feet touch the ground out of my bed, I will say at least one thing that I'm grateful for. One thing. That to me seemed to be the easiest thing to implement into my life, because you know what? Every day that I wake up in the morning, I have to put my feet on the ground. So that was an easy way. So as you're thinking about your habits, most people can't stick to their habits because they don't make it easy. And habits are one of those things that you eventually figure out, like brushing your teeth. You wake up in the morning, you brush your teeth, right? Because it's just what you do. Because typically you go to the restroom and you wash your face. So it's okay, let me just add that to the mix of brushing my teeth. So I made it really easy. And a lot of my clients that I work with, when I look at, what they're doing, and then we look at their accountability and tracking, and they're like, oh, I didn't hit my goal this week. I was like, okay, well, let's look at that habit. Let's look at that goal. And we realized they were just making it too difficult. Shifting your schedule or shifting the habit to a different part of your daily routine can make a huge difference. So if you've been stuck with being consistent, that might be the thing that turns it around for you. So for me, I wake up, put my feet on the ground, and that is what I do. And that becomes a prompt. So you want to have this prompt that will always remind you, whether it's I put my feet on the ground, I say one thing I'm grateful for, or every time I sit in my car and I put my seatbelt on, I will think about one person that I'm grateful for. So all these little prompts that you can do, because when you do them, it sends a mental note to your brain, to your body, to activate that response. It's like with the Pavlovian method, with the dogs, where the dog would hear a bell and then get fed. And so every time that the bell would ring, the dog would get fed, the mouth would start to salivate. And eventually they would ring the bell, but they didn't have food there for the dog, and the dog would still salivate because there was a prompt. Not that I'm comparing us to dogs or canines at all, but it's just really how the basic core of nature works. We respond well to prompts, but you need the prompt to be something that's easy to implement in your life and one that you can deal with. So for example, when I set that alarm in my phone at 1:11 every day, it was great on the days that I wasn't training clients, or I wasn't coaching, or I wasn't doing something where my phone was off or not near me. That meant that my phone had to always be near me, and I had to be always accessible and available at 1:11. That wasn't always the case. But I would always wake up, put my feet on the ground so I could say my gratitude exercise. So that was a prompt. So if you don't have a prompt, take some time and think about a prompt that you can use to help to remind you. And it's not really a reminder, but more so of a thing that moves you to action, that just puts you right in that space. Number 5, so building habits. Identify the habit. 2, you want to identify the meaning behind that habit. 3, you want to see how you can build that habit into your life. 4, you want to have a prompt. 5, you want to think about how you're going to track your progress, because what gets measured gets done. So what I did was, after I put my feet on the ground and said my gratitude, I would just actually track it. So I would know that I did it. And you can track it on your phone, you can track it in your computer, you can have a little thing on your nightstand. For me, what I just do is, once I would do that, I would just put a little check mark on my nightstand. I have a little notepad there. And it's one sheet per week is on my nightstand of just little thoughts that I get in my brain, or I don't know, just random things that come to me, like my dreams, or a reminder for me when I wake up in the morning. So I would track it. And so every single week when I look at that sheet, I would have 7 check marks. And there's something really wonderful about like tracking something and saying, I did that. You get that win for the day. Again, it goes back to neuroscience. When we feel like we're doing successful things and we're like getting things moving and grooving, we keep doing it, because there's this intrinsic satisfaction of seeing us doing what we said we're gonna do. And for me, it feels like I'm honoring a commitment that I made to myself when I see those 7 check marks of me practicing gratitude. And what I notice is on the weeks where I don't feel that great, the weeks where my mental health is not where it needs to be, I can look at that sheet and realize I was so busy, I popped out of bed, I didn't do my gratitude exercise, and it made a big difference. That's the thing about habits, you guys, is that we don't realize how small habits done over time compound into huge, huge, huge results. For me, again, I go back to the meaning. For me, it was I wanted to feel happier. I wanted to feel better. I wanted to improve my relationships. I wanted to be able to continue to go through that process of personal development. And I did. I noticed that my relationships got better. My relationship with myself got better. The language I used was more positive and more affirming instead of negative and inner critic laden. So that was the 5th thing. You want to track it. And if you're working with a coach or an accountability partner, then you can know when you're having a week that's really moving you forward or a week that's not, because you can look at your habits. Have I been doing my habits every single day? And if not, that might give you some indication of, one, maybe you go back to the drawing board. Maybe you have to dig deeper into your meaning. Maybe you have to figure out how to make it work into your schedule, because maybe your daily schedule changed, or you need a new prompt. So by tracking, you get data on how to move forward. So that's what I love about that. And then the 6th thing is, how are you going to celebrate and reward yourself? So here's the thing. A celebration and a reward. So for me, checking off that I did my daily gratitude is like the celebration, so that mini celebration. At the end of the week, when I see that I have 7 check marks, I give myself a little reward. And sometimes that reward is just like a chilled glass of champagne, or maybe it is like taking some time to, binge watch something or anything like that. There's so many different ways you can reward yourself. But in this process, you want to reward the positive behaviors that you're doing, because it keeps you on the right track. It keeps you motivated. It keeps you going, keeps you excited for the next week. But the reality is, the reward that you set for yourself is wonderful, but the real bonus, the real gift, the real reward is the change in you, the change in yourself, the change of who you are becoming as a person. Because as you reach goals, understand that you change. You become someone different, you become someone elevated, you become someone new. And that's, to me, the beautiful part of like this idea of thriving, that we're not staying complacent or stagnant in what's going on in our life. We're constantly elevating. So these are the habits. Again, 1, identify the habit that you want to work on. Next, create some meaning around that habit, so that way it's something that really gets you motivated to do it. 3, generate some ways that you can fit this habit into your daily life, and think of all different ways. Like, just get really creative, do like a mental mind dump. Then you're going to choose one that you want to focus on. Then you want to connect that one habit to a prompt, something that's going to alert your body and your brain to do it. Then you want to track it to make sure that you are doing it consistently, and you can make sure that you're collecting data, because data is so important with success. And I think we forget that. We look at data as like a negative thing, or we might beat ourselves up about it, but it's a good thing, I promise you. It's one of my favorite things to do with my clients, is going through and looking at their data. And then number 6, you want to make sure that you have a reward for yourself to ensure that you are continuously staying on track to reach that goal. So I have all these things broken down into a worksheet that I'm going to put into the file section, so you can take a look at that and you can work through it. You can print it out. It's a PDF. You can print it out. You can work through it. If you have questions about it, you can post here in the group. If you want to talk more about it one-on-one, just shoot me a message or comment below, and I'll make sure that we can set some time to talk about it. But honestly, the goal here is that you get the tools that you need to stay consistent. If you do print out your worksheet, or you just write all these things down, share it. Because I think other people in this group could really benefit from you sharing what you're doing, and we can grow and learn together. So happy Friday. Hopefully you're having a great day. Hopefully you have a great weekend, and I will talk to you very soon. All right, bye everyone.